Who am I? Inspired by Sri Ramana Maharshi. The teachings and questions on self-inquiry. Who am I? A simple question, yet one that has puzzled humanity for centuries. All living beings desire one thing: happiness, free from misery. But what is happiness? In moments of deep sleep, where the mind is absent, we experience peace. This hints that true happiness lies within us, untouched by the external world. To realize this happiness, we must know ourselves. The ancient path of knowledge, or self-inquiry, invites us to ask the question: who am I? Let us begin by understanding what we are not. First, we are not the body. The body, made up of physical elements, is transient. Neither are we the five senses that perceive the world: sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. These are merely tools for experience. We are also not the organs of action, speech, movement, grasping, excretion, or procreation. These are functions of the physical form. What about the mind? The mind, which thinks and imagines, is a wondrous power residing within us. But even the mind is not the self. Thoughts come and go, like clouds passing in the sky. If we are none of these, then who are we? By negating all that we are not, we discover the awareness that remains. This awareness, pure, unchanging, and eternal, is our true self. The nature of this awareness is existence, consciousness, and bliss. It is the core of who we are, beyond the illusions of the material world. But why do we fail to realize this? The world we perceive is like mistaking a rope for a snake. Until we let go of the illusion that the world is real, we cannot see the truth of the self. When the mind becomes still, free from thoughts and distractions, the illusion of the world dissolves. Like a spider retracting its web, the mind withdraws into the self. In this stillness, the self shines forth. When the self appears, the world fades. And when the world dominates, the self is obscured. Thus, the practice of persistent inquiry, who am I, guides us to this ultimate realization. Through self-inquiry, we uncover that the self is not bound by the body, senses, or mind. It is the infinite awareness that remains when all else is stripped away. Who am I? The answer lies not in the words we speak but in the silence within. Seek it, and you will find the happiness and bliss that is your true nature. Discover yourself. The journey begins within. In the quiet sanctuary of the cosmos, the seeker embarks on a journey to understand the essence of being. The self, often referred to as the Atman, is the eternal witness to all existence. The mind, ever restless, depends on the tangible for its identity and cannot exist in isolation. This interplay of gross and subtle energies gives rise to what is known as the subtle body or the soul, the jiva. Through the mist of contemplation, a revelation emerges, that which arises as Ein within the body is the mind. If one were to inquire deeply, they would discover that the genesis of this I thought lies in the heart, the sacred origin of the mind. As the seeker repeats the mantra I, the mind is drawn inward, toward its source. Of all the thoughts that dance through the mind, that I thought is primordial, the fountainhead from which all others flow. Without this foundational awareness, the distinction between self and other cannot exist. The question arises, how does the mind find stillness? The answer lies in a single, profound inquiry. This question becomes the flame that consumes all other thoughts, leaving nothing but the ashes of illusion. In the silence that follows, self-realization dawns. The practice begins simply. When thoughts arise, the seeker must not pursue them. Instead, they ask, to whom do these thoughts arise? The answer is inevitable, to me. From there, the inquiry deepens. Who am I? With persistence, the mind retreats to its source, and the thoughts dissolve into quietude. Through repeated practice, the mind learns to rest in its origin. When the subtle mind ventures outward, names and forms manifest. But when it remains in the heart, all externalities vanish. This inward journey, known as inwardness, contrasts with externalization. Where the mind is lost in the world. As the mind settles in the heart, that I thought, the root of all mental activity, subsides, and the self shines in its true radiance. Whatever actions one performs should be free from the ego's grasp. The path of inquiry surpasses all other methods of calming the mind. Breath control and meditation may offer temporary respite, but only inquiry reaches the core of the mind's origin. Neither the body nor the breath proclaims I. The mind, inherently inert, draws its animation from the self. When one ceases to think, they simply exist, a state beyond mind and thought. In this pure being, even the concept of meditation dissolves, revealing the self's timeless presence. Self-realization is not a distant goal but an ever-present reality obscured by ignorance. The effort lies in shedding this ignorance, a process that requires desirelessness and detachment. As attachments fall away, the mind naturally turns inward, reversing its habitual outward-seeking tendencies. This realization transcends time and space. It is immediate and eternal. When one recognizes the self, the distinctions between I, you, and it vanish. Inquiry becomes a constant practice, unbound by circumstances. Each moment becomes an opportunity to dissolve the distractions of the mind by asking, "Who am I?" Even amidst activity, one can remain rooted in the self. This is the essence of true meditation. The mind, purified by inquiry, sheds its desires and rests naturally in its source. The self is not a concept or an object, it is pure being. As one abides in this state, peace and joy arise, not as attributes but as the self's natural expression. The path may seem long, but each step reveals deeper truths. The seeker comes to realize that the journey is not toward something new but toward a recognition of what has always been. In this realization, the self stands revealed, eternal and unchanging. And so, the seeker discovers that the self is not a destination but the very ground of being, ever present and resplendent. Sri Ramana Maharshi's teachings on self-inquiry center around the profound question, "Who am I?" guiding seekers to trace their thoughts back to their source and discover their true nature. He emphasized that self-inquiry is the most direct path to realizing the unconditioned, absolute self, which is ever present and not separate from one's being. By questioning the ego and turning inward, the mind dissolves into its source, revealing pure awareness and inner stillness.